We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Episode number
59. We're one away from 60, and here we go.
Damn.
Wow.
Man, I came up with a little song.
Yeah, that was pretty.
Can you do that every episode, Joe?
I'm pretty creative, so sure.
Georgie, how does it feel? Episode 59.
Just another one for me. I mean, I'm here. So yeah.
Do you guys have any shout-outs at all?
Yes, I have two actually. First one, Chris Spray. Second one, user 76224487, also known as Forzon. Two of my coworkers who were just on the behind the scenes with us. We appreciate you. So thank you.
What about you, Georgie? Nothing?
Nothing.
Georgie is officially taking money for shout-outs now. So he's not going to give any shout-outs unless you Venmo him some money or subscribe to his
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy.
All right.
Subscribe to your what, Georgie?
Yeah.
Let's get it into
Wait.
What,
You
man?
got shout-outs?
Yeah. What's going on here?
No, I'm also charging for shout-outs. So no shout-outs for me today.
Then you guys wonder why I'm the only one that
No,
has fans
I
that
do.
come
I
to
do
me.
have
No,
a
no,
shout
no.
out. I do. Do you have a shout out?
No, go ahead.
No, go. You go.
No, I don't have shout-out.
What?
I
Well,
was
you're
gonna-
just
I was gonna make one up
you're
on
just
the spot.
faking.
I was gonna make
you
one up on
hang
the
up.
spot.
No, you
Okay, I
hang
do
up.
have a shout out.
Who's your shout-out?
I want to say a farewell to one of the best managers of all
Oh
time.
my god! Can you at least wait until
Mr.
after the pre-cap?
Oh,
Go ahead, dude. Just do it. Just
It's
do it.
okay.
We're already just go ahead because it's gonna happen. Go ahead.
no, it's a sad day. We should all be sad. I don't know why you're laughing. It's a very sad. I've been pretty sad all day. I've been eating junk food, eating chocolate, just
You're on
crying.
Javi's diet.
I'm on Javi's diet. Under a blanket, just crying myself because Ten Hag is gone, and I don't know. I just don't know how I can cope. He's won so many trophies. He was the best. I don't even know.
He
what
was the
said.
best at being the worst. He literally has the records for all the worst things.
But
at
he has
Manchester United.
trophies.
What do you mean? He's got more trophies than
He has more
Arne
trophies.
Slot.
He has more trophies than everybody.
And he's got
That's
more
right.
trophies than every other manager in the Prem except for what? Pep?
Yep.
All right, we're gonna get into that. Before we actually get into the pre-cap, the Discord. I forgot to mention it last time. Georgie, fill us in. You started it. You created
Yeah, I
it.
mean, we have a Discord. It's kind of like, I don't know if people know a lot about Discord, but it's pretty much a hangout. You can go in there anytime, any moment. We don't have to be online. You can just kind of chat with a bunch of people in the community, and hopefully we can build that up because I think it's completely different to all the other social medias. Obviously, Instagram, Twitter, and all that, you can go and comment. But I think through Discord, you have a interaction. You can talk to people now. Like if somebody else is online and they see your message, you can kind of go back and forth nonstop and hang out and all that stuff. So I think we should honestly be in there a lot more often. Once we get more people in there, obviously it's going to be more fun. So the more people we get, the more time we're going to spend in there because I think that's the main one where we can kind of talk and hang out and talk about football and whatever else. So
Do you want to have people hop in there and throw us questions? Do you hop in there during games by chance? Like if I was somebody and I was like, man, let me just hop onto this Discord thing. What would you suggest that they do?
I mean, so
we have channels for everything.
yeah. So right now we have channels for everything for the most part. We still got to build it up, but we really haven't because there's really few people in there only. But there's Premier League channel, La Liga channel. So when games are going on, there's a Fantasy Premier League. There's different channels so you can go and talk about
Whatever's going on.
whatever's going on
the
or
game.
whatever. And then at some point we can probably go live on there as well and talk to people and all that stuff. So I think it's pretty cool.
The link will be in the link tree that we have on all of our social medias. I do want to also note that this is the reason why Georgie's not the IT person, because stupid ass George was sending out invites. Remember, he sent us an invite and he's like, "This is the link" or whatever.
Yeah, and I couldn't post in it.
And then I got messages, people like, "Hey, the link doesn't work. The link doesn't work." So we changed it. And then a few days later, people were like, "Hey, the link doesn't work. The link doesn't work." Georgie had it set to the link expiring every 7 days. So there was a bunch of people that could not get in. Your boy Gus sent me a message and was like, "Hey, just want to let you know." And I was like, "This is the second time." And I looked and the link expired every 7 days. So now the link is unlimited. It should work.
Wait, why did you copy the link I sent you?
Because why?
It's an invite to you. Why are you copying that link?
No, it's an invite to share. It's an invite to anyone. It's like
Yeah,
it's
but
just a link that invites everyone because that's how it works. It's like an invite.
If you guys can't tell, I work with two amateurs.
I don't
So
know
we
how
fixed
to-
it. Go to the Discord. Go and join. And, let us know, comments, questions. Anytime a good game pops up, breaking news, throw it in there. It'll
I'll be in there a
notify
lot. From now on, I'll be in there a lot.
Georgie will be in there.
So talk shit to me. You don't support Liverpool, I will ban your ass.
Damn.
Come on,
Damn.
get banned.
All right.
Hashtag get banned.
That came out aggressive. Sorry,
So,
guys.
can we get into the precap?
Yeah.
Speaking of Discord, somebody just joined.
Dang. They're watching the episode,
Wow.
huh? They're watching this live somehow.
I hopped in there.
Love it.
My phone, does it notify you if I hop in?
If you type, well, you can set it to that. Like if you type, if you say something in there now, I'll get alerted. Yeah,
I didn't say anything.
Same with you.
All right, let's get into the precap.
Let's do it.
So, today, special episode because some big things happening today. First of all, in the morning, I wake up. Ten Hag has been sacked. All right, so we'll talk about that. We will also talk about the Ballon d'Or ceremony, which was an absolute disaster. And that's a new segment. We haven't had a breaking news segment. So that's the breaking news segment.
What? How disrespectful are you to my Iran Club video?
Oh yeah, but that was such breaking news that was completely separate, like a whole separate video from the podcast.
That was also more of a therapy session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have the Premier League roundup. We'll talk about, it's really football roundup because we'll talk about a lot of the Premier League. We'll also talk about a little bit about El Clásico. And then we have the VAR room. Big decision that ultimately, let's say, was the final straw on Erik Ten Hag's job. Then we got the sports segment with your boy Joe, as usual. And then fun facts, back to me. Today, page 238, Joe. But the book is right here.
Ooh.
You'll never get this.
Unless
You'll
you
never get.
unless you
You'll never
memorized
get
with this.
this.
I'm gonna be Borat for hell.
You should
You
be.
could be a good Borat.
I would be a
Bring
Borat.
the little bikini thing that he wears or whatever.
This guy wants.
All right, so that's the precap. Let's get it going right away. Breaking news. Erik Ten Hag sacked this morning after a defeat against West Ham 2-1, which is going to lead us later into the VAR room segment. The man who's disappointed about it the most, we're going to go to you, Georgie. How do you feel?
I'm heartbroken, man. It's a sad day. We've been talking about it ever since we started the podcast that this guy should be sacked, and we always prayed that he'd never get sacked. He should get a lifetime contract. I don't think he spent enough money. I think he needs more time. I don't think he's brought his own players. So I have no idea why they sacked him. He has more trophies. I don't know. I don't know what's going on at Manchester United, but Ineos have lost the plot because that's the worst decision they're ever going to make. So that's where I stand. And
Fair enough.
I miss him already.
And you hope that he succeeds.
Yeah.
The
The second time around it.
Arne Slot.
No chance. but I will say this. The only way I will feel better about the situation is if Manchester United hire Southgate. That's the only way.
That'll cheer you up.
That would cheer me up. Or I said we're gonna sign a petition. I think we should get a petition going for Ten Hag back. Like I already miss him. Like we need legends in the Premier League, so I think it's only fair. So
All right, Joe, what are your thoughts?
I agree with some of the things Georgie says. I am sad that he's gone. Only from the fact of I liked how bad he was at his job, and I like watching Manchester United struggle. I really, really do. The thing that's crazy to me, and the thing that doesn't make too much sense, is like if you were just going to sack him, what are we? 2 months into the season? What? Why even get this far? Type thing. That I think now it puts Manchester United in a spot where they spend a bunch of money on some additional players that he wanted. So that money's, I don't want to say wasted because they still have the players, but who knows if the new coach, manager that you're going to bring in wants them. So I think that was an inefficient and kind of boneheaded decision. And now here we are. Who are they going to go get in the middle of October, or the end of October, beginning of November, when England was also just looking for coaches? You know what I mean? United States just got Pochettino. Are they just going to ride with Ruud van Nistelrooy throughout the season and kind of just let it play out? I don't know if there's really a plan. It reminds me a lot of like where Chelsea was a year or two ago, where it was like everything just seemed reactive. But I'm not surprised though either, just based on their run of form. People wanted them out before the season, where they're sitting in the table in both Europe and in the Prem. So it makes sense if you look at like just right now. But to me, it was like if you're going to embark with him on the season and you're going to bring in players like De Ligt and so on, like let's just give him time and see how it goes from there. But clearly Ineos had different plans. So
So
We'll see what happens.
So about 110 days, something like about 110 days since they just renewed his contract. It was another 2-year renewal. So Manchester United is going to pay somewhere around $17 million, euros. I don't know which one. I assume it's euros. 17 million euros over the next 2 years to Erik ten Hag. To Joe's point, he bought some of his players.
And sold like Sancho and stuff, where it's like, if you're going to get rid of Ten Hag, just keep Sancho.
I saw some pundits talk about how it was a bit of, he got unlucky, which is kind of funny to me because of the West Ham. They're like, well, if they don't give that penalty to West Ham and they draw, he probably keeps his job a little bit longer. So he's a bit unlucky. But in my opinion, the moment you start talking about that, about luck, the only teams that need luck every week are the teams in the relegation battle. And if you're a team that needs luck every single week, you're definitely not a top club or you're not a top manager. Mikel Arteta, Pep Guardiola, Arne Slot, Enzo Maresca, all of these managers can go 3 or 4 weeks without needing luck because they'll win games decisively, and then they'll need a little bit of luck for the next game. But their careers are never in danger because they only need that every once in a while, as opposed to Erik ten Hag, who felt like every week he needed a last-minute tying goal.
Yeah.
He needed the referee not to call a penalty against West Ham. I think, to be fair, I kind of respect Ineos for this, because I said Ineos are serious about their jobs, right? Like they want to make it better, but they weren't also going to be idiots like Chelsea, for example, where they're like, he got 2 bad games in a row, sacked, get the next one, sacked, get the next one, sacked, get the, like, they're like, okay, we're going to give him sufficient time and hope that it works out. But it does get to a certain point where you're like, shit, you're in 14th place and you're Manchester United, and there's been 9 games in the Premier League season and you're in 14th place with no positive outlook whatsoever. It's not like Arsenal where you're like, damn, we got this guy injured and this guy's got a red card and we got like 3 of our best players out. Like, no, you have all your players. You have no style of play. You've been given 2.5 years and there's still no positive outlook. There's still no light at the end of the tunnel. So I can respect the fact that they tried, but I can also respect the fact that they said enough is enough. He's got to go. Yeah. So with that being said, the other question I had for you guys was, did they mess up in their timing just by a little bit? Because if they would have sacked him 3 weeks ago, Thomas Tuchel would have been available. And everybody knew that Thomas Tuchel was somebody that they were interested in hiring. So do you think that they waited a little bit too long and now they don't have the manager that they would have wanted?
Yeah. I don't know if I think they should have sacked him at the beginning of the season. Like, if you're going to go into it and there's a chance that he gets sacked before Christmas, sack him at the beginning of the year, because then you can go get who you want and you don't spend money on people that you don't necessarily need in the transfer window. Like, that's the thing to me, because they spent a bunch of money in the transfer window and they offloaded players that he didn't want there. So it's like, what are we doing if we're just going to sack him 9 games in?
Yeah.
Because I also don't think they were bad enough to get relegated. And I don't know if they have the good enough players to be a top club.
Dang.
Yeah. I mean, look, obviously I was being sarcastic in the beginning, but for me, I just don't know. And I have no idea how he's lasted these 3 years. I really don't. Like, you bring in a manager and you talk about a playing style. There's no playing style in 3 years. It's the same. It's like we always talk about. It's 2-3 games they do okay, 2-3 games they do terrible, and then 2-3 games they're like draws or whatever, last second, they need luck, whatever, like you said. And the amount of money you spent, and then to say, well, he said a week or two ago, oh, we're working together, we're building up, we're going to be better, blah, 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 all these things. You've had 3 years to implement your style, and none of your players, even key players, are improving or understanding what the style is. So that's the biggest thing for me. And like Joe said, why wait? Like, if I was Ineos, just sack him in the summer. You start brand new, you go on. Personally, I wouldn't mind having Tuchel at Manchester United, because I think Tuchel is a tournament manager. I don't think he's a good season manager. So like, I wouldn't mind if he was the one. I'm worried about Ruben Amorim, from Sporting, who they're really linked with right now, because I'm a big fan of his. I remember when Liverpool, it was between him and Xabi Alonso, and I liked them both a lot, and I still do. I think he's a really good manager. So I'm nervous that he goes there and he completely changes everything. The problem with him is he wants a lot of power in terms of like transfers and like being in charge of everything. And I don't think Ineos are willing to give that up. Maybe they will for him. Who knows? But would Manchester United, will have they gone for Poch or Thomas Tuchel? I don't know. I really don't know if they, like those two would have been. I'm sure they would have been part
They
of.
would have talked to him.
They would have talked to them, but I don't think they would be like the two main candidates. I think Amorim will be a priority. I'll be looking at
Who you said? Emery?
Amorim from
Oh.
Sporting,
Oh.
Ruben Amorim. Who Inzaghi will be another one from Inter. Like 100% will be on my list. Whether he wants to come or not, different story, of course. Xavi from Barcelona, obviously he doesn't have a job at the moment.
Zinedine Zidane.
Zidane will be. I don't think Zidane would ever come near Manchester United. I could be.
But they
wrong.
would have reached out to
They
him,
would
right?
definitely reached out. Who else is there? I think that would be pretty
Southgate,
much.
Eddie Howe.
And Southgate, as I joked earlier, if Manchester United gives Southgate this job, they're taking 2 steps back from Ten Hag, and that speaks volumes. Because I don't think what was the previous job that Southgate had before the England job? Middlesbrough, and he got relegated, I believe. So, and everybody talks about the style of football that he has with the England team, stars on stars on stars, and you play like that. Can you imagine what Manchester United is going to be like? It's,
Yeah.
I think it would be as a Liverpool fan, I think it would be a great hire if we're being serious and being like realistic about like the Manchester United situation. I think that would be one of the worst decisions seniors are ever going to make. Especially you don't bring a new manager and say, oh, we'll give you a 1-year contract. You bring in a manager, okay, you got 3 years. Show me what you got. One of those things. Southgate in 3 years, you see Manchester United staying in the 14th place. That's it.
So they are heavily linked with Ruben. Amorim
I'm right, man.
from Sporting. I did a little bit of research on him today because once they started talking about him, I started going into the YouTube and Sporting tactics. So he's won 2 leagues with Sporting. Been there since 2020. 2 leagues with Sporting. A bunch of the domestic cups. They are sitting in 8th place in the Champions League right now, with 2 wins and 1 draw. Very interesting tactics. I like when I watch these YouTube videos and I see tactics that I haven't seen before that are kind of creative. Like everything's been done before, but like just the way that he builds, the way that he shaped, it's like similar to Xabi Alonso. Like when Xabi Alonso started playing with the 3 and the 2 and the wingbacks, and it was a very interesting way of building out. That was very, very good. This guy does something similar with how he manipulates the midfield and the back line to build and to go forward. So tactically, I think he's good. He's 39 years old, I believe, 38, 39 years old.
Yeah.
So he's a young manager, which I think is, I wouldn't say is necessary, but I think about it this way. Like the game has changed so much in the last, let's say 10, 15 years. In the last 10 to 15 years, the game has changed so much that the requirements to do a really good job, specifically with the game shifting towards the tactic side of things, almost requires a younger manager to be good. A more modern, we talk about the modern coach, the modern manager, right? Only because the older guys are very hard for them to adapt. It's like teaching an older person to use the internet, right? That's never been around the internet. It's like, hey, this is the way the world works now, and this is what you have to do. It's very difficult for them to adapt. A few of them do it, but for the most part, that's why Big Sam Allardyce, we haven't heard his name in a while, right? Yeah. Man's extinct. Man's gone extinct. Some of these managers, like Sean Dyche, doesn't have very many. Like he's about to go into retirement pretty soon, in my opinion. Yeah. So it scares the other teams when you hear a name like Ruben Amorim, because you think, damn, this guy's gonna be legit.
Yeah, he will bring Manchester United back if you give him whatever he wants and you give him blank checks and you do whatever you want. This is your team. One, he will improve the players he has. I think they're all going to thrive under him in terms of, I think he's one of those managers where he can make players better just by coaching them and tactically and all that. Where under Ten Hag, they didn't have any tactics. It was just go
So-
play, whatever.
My question to you guys then. You're at the top in Portugal. He's won 9 out of 9 games, 27 points. He's like 4 or 5 or 6 points ahead of the next team, right? So he's probably going to win the league, in my opinion, because he's won 2 leagues since 2020. He's won all these domestic cups. Is it time for him to move to Manchester United, or is he happy staying at Sporting knowing that he's just going to win again and again and again, and maybe he's going to wait for another really big job in a much better spot than where Manchester United is? What do you guys think?
I think it's hard. You always say, Javi, that if you like a big club calls, you take the job because you never know when that club will call again, or a big club will call. So I think from that standpoint, there's a high likelihood he takes the job. I will say if he doesn't and he passes on it, personally, I would respect people like that, like a ton. Like I respect Xabi Alonso a ton for not jumping ship after Bayer Leverkusen last season and saying like, I'm going to stay for a bit just because he's betting on himself that regardless of all those things, he's good enough as a manager to land another one of those jobs that aligns better in terms of it being a good setup. Because it is one of those things, let's say he leaves Sporting, goes to Manchester United, doesn't do well to start for whatever reason, and then he gets sacked at the end of the season or something like that, then where are you coaching? You know what I mean? Where it'll be an interesting thing, but I bet you, my gut says that if they come to him with a serious offer in terms of what he's looking for, I don't see why he wouldn't take it.
Yeah, I think he takes it, sadly. Just because you've been there for, 2-3 years now with Sporting, more, you've won so many things. You've won, it's not like it's the first time that you've won something like Bayer Leverkusen. Like, he's won, back-to-back, plenty of, obviously, different trophies within Portugal. And one way to look at it for me is you're going into a Manchester United team that's I don't want to say as worse as they're going to get, because obviously relegation battles or relegation is the worst that you can get. But there's such a place that you can pretty much just go up from there. So if you can come into Manchester United, who are obviously one of the biggest clubs in the world, despite how poor they've been in the past 10 years or so, you change that around, you're going to be looked at as a god at Old Trafford. And now you build that legacy and you can stay there for 10 years or whatever, and then possibly bring them back to Champions Leagues and titles and all that stuff. So I think I like him a lot. I do think he takes it. I don't think you're gonna even think about it twice, to be honest, just because he's been in Sporting for so long and proving himself that it's just a matter of, I think, if he gets the freedom to do what he wants. Because I think he's a very specific guy in terms of like how he likes to manage all the players and all the freedom he has in picking and choosing transfers and all that. So,
yeah, I think I agree with you in the sense that I think he's done enough at Sporting where he's not still building Sporting. Like he's like, I've already won the league twice. I've won a bunch of domestic cups. I'm on top of the table. The worst thing, or the worst thing that can happen is that it's all downhill from there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like he's already done everything. Xabi Alonso was still in the middle of that towards the end maybe of that season where he was like, there's still a little bit more for me to do. I'm building it, and we had a really good year, but can I make it twice or 3 times where we win the league and really turn this into a dynasty and then leave?
And bring him to the Champions League.
And then leave, right? Yep. So I can understand Xabi Alonso, again, with Joe's point. Like, yeah, he bet on himself. He's like, I'm a good manager. I'm going to build this, and then even more clubs are going to be calling. But this guy, at Manchester United, the only thing that can happen that's worse is he goes into the relegation battle. But I think the chances of that are so small because I think he's a much better coach than Ten Hag. And I think just the way that people will react, the players will react, and the fans will react to like them finally getting rid of the manager that they've been wanting to get rid of to bring in somebody who's exciting and new. I think that just, again, we talk about the new manager coming in. Even without the tactics, players just perform better. Clean slate and everything.
And they play Chelsea next, I think.
The other thing, though, as well, is I also think it's tough because it's a lot of expectations. Manchester United fans, let's be honest, they're a little bit delusional. Right now, not in the past. In the past, they were on top. They were one of the they were the best club.
Past 10 years.
Sir Alex Ferguson era, they were the best, no doubt. They've gotten to a point where it's been so long now. It wasn't like maybe around the Mourinho era, because he came. Did he come right after David Moyes?
No, I think it was
After
Van
Van
Gaal.
Gaal. Yeah.
Okay, after Van Gaal. But I think that was still close enough to that previous area that people were like, those are the expectations that we want. That's the minimum standard. Now they're so far down that it's like, guys, to be honest, if I was Amorim, I would go in there and be like, this is going to take 3 years. By the third year, we'll be in Champions League. We'll be competing for the top 3 in the Premier League, and we'll get Manchester United back to the standards. But if you guys think that I'm going to get us into the Champions League this season, there's so much more. And I think the other thing is because of what you said, the amount of control that he wants in transfers and in tactics. He's not just going to show up to Manchester United and be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to implement my style. He's going to be like, look, guys, the problem on top of Erik ten Hag is the fact that you have 10 or 11 players that cannot play in the style that I want to play. Yeah. And we can't get rid of all of them at the same time. So that process over multiple transfer windows is going to eventually work. But right now it's not. So that's one of the reasons why I think if he interviews and they're like, yeah, that's not going to work for us, that might be why it would break down. But big challenge. Could really turn himself into a big name. And the other thing that I think the Premier League is missing was when Mourinho was in it, when Conte was in it, when Guardiola was in it, when I think Klopp was still in it, and you had like 6 or 7 really big coaches in the Premier League that I was like, man, I'm looking forward to some of these matches just to see the manager matchups. Yeah. And I feel like we don't get that as often anymore. Yeah. Like Arne Slot's kind of still going in there, but right now it's really the big one, Arteta and Guardiola.
And this guy has he's a character, like on the sideline. Like if you ever watched him, he's like up and down. Like he always wears a tight
captain armband or what?
I don't know what it is. Like it's like really tight on the left hand side. Like it could be a symbol for something, but he always wears it on his like long coat or whatever, and it's like always up and down. The referee's like yelling, and he's like more calm in a way, but then when it comes out, it comes out. Like, yeah. So he's a character like you would want to watch.
We need more characters in the Premier League.
Would you? I mean, he would be the number 1 pick if I was a Manchester United fan, or like that. I would be scared in terms of like a rival for him coming in and changing the team. If Xavi was going to come in, would you as a rival be nervous? Because I wouldn't personally.
Xavi or Xabi?
From Barca. I wouldn't.
Xavi Hernandez.
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
I would not be either. Especially after
you wouldn't
watching
be scared as a rival?
Yeah, like no. I good. Like I wouldn't be like, oh my god, yes, celebrate it, because it's not Southgate level. But I wouldn't like. I would not be.
No,
I wouldn't be like as stressed in terms of like
him turning them around and making them great. I'd agree with you on that. Especially watching what Hansi Flick's done with Barca so quick.
Yeah,
same player, same team.
And but when Xavi came in, he did the exact same thing.
Yeah, like they won the Liga.
Flipped him around.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, flipped him around.
So, but like, I personally like him going to Manchester United. I'm like, okay, like I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. I think the only one that would, well, there's a few obviously, Inzaghi and all that stuff, but he's not even like talked about. The other one is the German guy.
Nagelsmann.
Yeah, they're like talks about him taking over.
That's a tough one. He's national team coach of Germany.
Why would he?
Yeah,
I don't know.
But there's options. That's a good thing. They have options, and I think a lot of them are much better managers than Erik ten Hag.
Yeah.
Xavi just doesn't scare me, partly because I know that his style is just. I mean, he's been in Spain his whole life, literally his whole life. To come to the Premier League as a manager, and he's got the right tactics. I don't know if they'll fit. I don't think he would be interested that much in the job because it's a completely different style. It's almost like a different sport, going from Spain for so long and that style of play to come in and going to Manchester United when they're at this point right now. So I don't know. Who knows? Lots of one name we didn't mention, which is kind of funny that we just didn't mention it. Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's the interim manager right now. Some people were like, "Oh well, do you think that they they brought him in because they thought maybe we'll sack Ten Hag and he'll be the replacement. But then most of the reports were saying that Ten Hag was the one that called him and said, like, hey, come join my staff, which makes it a little bit different. But still a thought. I'm surprised that they're linked so early with Amram and some of these other guys when if I was Ineos, you got a really good person who knows the winning culture of Manchester United, the winning era of Manchester United. Fans love him. Apparently, his aura in training is fantastic. People love it, right? Why don't you wait a month? Why don't you say, okay, let's see how the next 3 or 4 games go? What if he gets 3 wins and a draw? Okay, let's give him a little bit longer. 6, 7 games in, and he wins 3/4 of them, or gets good results. You keep him.
So like Ole de Real.
Yeah, but
I bet you they'll keep him around and they'll give him some time. That's what I think. I think I said that to you guys a few weeks ago, that like if they do sack Ten Hag, they'll leave Van Nistelrooy in for a while. That's why I also think they did it now, because they said, you know what? Well, this isn't working. We can get rid of him. We can put Van Nistelrooy in, and we'll see, and we can slowly find who we want. But
it just seems
it
weird.
also sounds like they're very linked with.
Yeah, like few, like right away too.
Yeah.
It was like
a lot of reports saying that they've reached out already and they started the talks and all of that. So that could happen really fast, to be honest. That could happen pretty fast. The other thing is that they have to pay his release clause. I love that for managers. Get your money, man. It's such a stressful job.
Yeah.
Me and Demir were talking about this at Liverpool. It is such a stressful job. And you think about how much they get paid. Think of everyday online abuse. No matter how good you are at your job, you're always getting abuse. It might come from a different direction, but it's coming from one direction or multiple. So it should be a high-paying job because it's such a stressful job. It takes a lot out of you. I was watching the Arteta interview, and he's like, yeah, on a typical day, I'll get to the office around 6:30. If I get out early, I'm out around like 4 or 5 p.m. Normal time, 6, 7 o'clock at night. So 12 hours every single day. 12 hours. That doesn't include the time that you spend with your family, obviously. The time that you need for your sleep and all the other stuff. And
all the time you spend traveling too.
For sure.
Everywhere.
And it's one of those jobs that when you get home, you don't forget about your job.
no, you can't think
Like,
about it.
he goes up to his office, I guarantee. As soon as he gets home, says hi to his kid's wife or whatever, goes up to his office and starts thinking, what am I going to do? Even when he's just in a general random conversation with his wife and his kids at dinner, he's thinking like, oh, fucking tactics for next Saturday. Who am I going to start? Who am I not going to start? So it's kind of cool that they're valuing now managers a lot more than they used to the point where, hey, if you're a good manager, if somebody's going to come to get you, they have to give us $10 million.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but now you're sacking Ten Hag, 17 mil, and then you got to pay for whoever you're. Obviously, if it's Ruben Amorim, they have to pay him. They have to pay Sporting, so he can leave. So it's pretty much a transfer fee for a manager, unless they're obviously just without a job. So
Crazy. The other breaking news. Well, it's not really breaking news, but just I'm about to go off.
this is all about Javi, because I didn't watch it, and I
I didn't watch it either. So
All right, so Georgie and Joe did not watch the Ballon d'Or. I watched it. I don't know why I watched it. I never watched it. I had the link. It was there. It was live on CBS. I went to watch it. What an absolute disaster. Unbelievable. That Didier Drogba and some lady who I probably should know, and I don't. I have no idea who she is. I think they got her more for being like a presenter than being like a soccer person, which fair enough. You need people who have experience talking and presenting. You can't just put up 2 random footballers who have...
hope the show goes well.
But just everything went wrong. It started with, in my opinion, Real Madrid not attending, which has nothing to do with France football. It's got everything to do with Real Madrid. They found out that Vinicius was not going to win the award, so they brought nobody.
How did they find out that he wasn't going to win the award?
Because it gets around. They have to do video edits and montages and stuff, presentations for when the players win. So that means enough people know who's going to win that I'm sure that they can get some insider information. And I guarantee Fiorentino Perez probably just called them and said, hey, we need to know for logistical purposes, did Vinicius win or not? We'll keep it under wraps, but just let us know. No, he didn't win. Okay, no problem. We're not coming.
The whole world knows.
5 hours before the ceremony, they found out, or 6 hours before the ceremony, they found out that he wasn't going to win it. Okay. Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Jude Bellingham, Fiorentino Perez, everyone from Real Madrid did not attend the ceremony. They're like, we're not going, which naturally presents a problem because there's multiple awards, and multiple awards were won by Real Madrid. So now you're presenting awards to people who aren't there, and the people who aren't there typically send a video, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I couldn't make it. Here's me with my award. Like Emma Hayes did that. I believe she was probably in the U.S. So she's like, here's me with my award. I really appreciate France football, whatever. Every time they presented Real Madrid, they couldn't interview anybody. They couldn't show a video or anything. There's like, congratulations, Real Madrid. And then they'd move on to the next one. So anyway, that was a disaster.
That's literally so sad. It's like, I don't know.
Disrespectful?
Yeah, to me, it's childish in terms of like, I'm taking my ball and like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. No one else can play. If I'm not picked, I'm not playing. It's like, dude, for real.
It's a UEFA award, isn't it?
France football.
So I don't know.
It's France football. Which is, you know what's interesting as well?
Why is for the France?
It's the France Football
Award.
Association or whatever. The weird part about it is that everybody who accepted their award thanked France football. Like when you go up and accept the award, hey, I just want to thank you guys, appreciate it. I want to thank my teammates. I want to thank. At some point, they all said, I would really like to thank France football for presenting me with this award. I appreciate the invitation. This means a lot to me. I appreciate the homage or whatever. It's just weird that they thank them very directly instead of like, I don't know. It's just weird.
Being told that you got
that's what I thought too. I agree. I think it was very disrespectful from Real Madrid. The fact that they have won multiple awards and they have won in the past. And the other thing that bothers me is Vinicius did not get robbed. Could he have won it? Sure, absolutely. He could have won it. Is it fair that Rodri wins it? Absolutely. It's not like Vinicius Jr. was so far above everyone that he got absolutely robbed, that there's some corruption going on. It's just, sorry, we felt like Rodri was a little bit better. And it wasn't we, it's all the journalists from all of the organizations or whatever. There was no corruption going on. Nobody stole this election, all right? So anyway, that Real Madrid thing kind of ruined part of it. Second part, they just didn't look like they rehearsed it. It was so awkward. There was a lot of weird, awkward silences. Everyone is from a different country, so not everybody speaks English. So they had them come in with earpieces to accept their awards or whatever, and they were live translating what the presenters were saying to them in English. So the first award, Lamine Yamal comes up for, what was the award called? I don't know what the...
Best young player or whatever.
It was the best young player. I don't know what the official name was called, right? Comes up, only speaks Spanish. They start talking to him in English. He's got his earpiece in, and for whatever reason, the translation stops working. So they're talking to him. Didier Drogba and this lady are talking to him. And he's just like, and she even tells him, she's like, you have three, Ronaldo was the last one to win the award that was the youngest one before you. She's like, and he won this many awards. What do you think? Challenge accepted? And he can't hear anything. And he just goes, no. And she's like, okay. They move on to the next question. They ask him the next question. And she's like, and then they're waiting for his response. And he's like, in Spanish, he's like, sorry, I can't hear anything. There's nothing in here. And instead of them being like, dude, there's how many Spanish players were there that could have popped up onto the stage and translated?
Rodri could go up there and help
literally. And you know what they do? They keep asking him questions. The lady just keeps talking. And this poor kid, 17 years old, is in the stage in front of all these world
literally in front of the
players.
whole world.
And he's just like smiling because he doesn't know what to say. And then instead of somebody being smart enough to say, hey, can we get a quick, somebody come translate. There's a million of you. Yeah. Doesn't need to be a professional. Just come translate. Instead of doing that, Ruud Gullit, who was the guy who was presenting the award officially to him, standing right next to him, they start asking him questions about Lamine Yamal. They're like, so Ruud Gullit, you see a lot of things in Lamine Yamal. What do you really like about him? So Lamine Yamal standing there, and Ruud Gullit's like, he's a good player. He's a very young player, and I think he's got so much potential and stuff. I'm like, dude, this just looks so stupid. This looks really stupid. So that happened, right? And then the other thing that, oh my God, these people, I swear. They talk about how the next award, I can't remember exactly what it was, but they presented Franz Beckenbauer with an award. They brought his family up on stage. He just passed away. So they're like trying to honor him, right? And I believe they named the award after him now, the next award, whatever that award was. They bring up his family, and German people are very like
Yeah.
I think a lot of times like you have to pick the right moments to have sarcasm and jokes with them a little bit, right? They do this homage on Franz Beckenbauer about how he was also a good singer and he sang a song. So they showed the song that he sang or something like that. And the lady's like, "Did you know he was a good singer?" to the family.
Like, yes.
And they're looking at her, and the funniest thing is like they're looking at her and they don't say anything. And so she's like, "Oh, can you hear us? Can you hear us?" Because the translation didn't work for Lamine Yamal. And the guy goes, "Yes, we can hear you, but he was a good footballer, not just a good singer." And she's like, "Oh yes, of course." But it was like super awkward because you could tell that they were upset at the fact that they wasted the time talking about him being a singer and not him being a legendary footballer. And he just passed away, obviously. Yeah. I'm like, these people, dude. It was one of those where you like,
Glad I want to watch it.
I want to like close the laptop because I feel awkward. I feel like I'm in the room and it's like
I
awkward.
was like slowly creeping down
so
in the chair
cringy.
watching this thing.
And there was just a lot of awkward pauses, awkward breaks. Translation wasn't working. The guy who was translating live on the broadcast, like in the background, he's translating in English when they're speaking in Spanish. And he's also listening to them speak as he's talking, so he misses a lot of what they're saying. Because they're not taking any breaks, so they're just constantly talking. And he like translates a sentence and then doesn't hear what they said, translates 3 sentences later. It was an absolute disaster. It was an absolute disaster. Cancel the award. Cancel the awards.
Javi said enough.
Well, honestly, if you have these big clubs just canceling, like not going, I would assume that's what's going to slowly happen over time. One thing that you mentioned, because it's got me thinking about like being robbed, that I was thinking about last year's Ballon d'Or ceremony, that between the two, in my opinion, if you look at like Vinny versus Rodri and being robbed, or you look at Messi winning over Erling Haaland when he won the treble, broke the Premier League goal scoring record, like that to me was much more of a robbery than Rodri, who won the Euros and the Prem.
And was the best player for both.
And yeah, it was absolutely amazing. And like his team loses a lot when he's not playing. Not loses a lot, but like they don't lose ever when he's playing, and they can lose when he's not. Just proves to me that he is the best. But that sounds like it was a painful watch. Did you watch the whole thing? Like,
I watched the whole thing.
Isn't it long? Like a few hours?
It was like 2 hours long.
Oh my god,
2.5 hours long. I watched it because I also didn't know when the award was going to be presented, and I didn't know how fast these things go. So I started watching it, and then I just kept watching it because I was tweeting, and I never tweet from our account.
He was going crazy on Twitter.
I never
was
tweet
like,
from our account. I was like, if anybody's watching, this is a disaster. Yeah. Last thing. Before we move on, they gave the best manager award to Carlo Ancelotti, and that bothered me. How many people in the history have had a season like Xabi Alonso has had?
One.
Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, I was gonna say one.
Arsene Wenger, and I think there was one more in like before Arsene Wenger that had an invincible season, undefeated. I don't know where. I can't remember.
And he did it with a team that wasn't like
invincible in the league.
Yeah,
they lost one game all season.
The final
of what was it? The Europa League. Listen, you were invincible in the league. You lost one game all season, and you were on a team. You were managing a team that had no business being the champions of that year.
It's never won.
Yeah.
Right? Never won a trophy. It doesn't make sense to me why he wouldn't be. I assumed that it was like a shoe-in that he was going to be. You don't talk about a robbery. Yeah. There you go.
Another awkward presentation because Carlo Ancelotti was not there. And did you see his tweet? Did you see his tweet, Joe?
No.
Georgie, what did he say in his tweet? Do you remember?
It was thank you for the award or whatever, but the two people I want to thank the most are Vinny and Dani Carvajal.
Because he thought that they should have won the Ballon d'Or instead of. So
I will say kudos to Carlo Ancelotti because you know why he does that. He's protecting his players
for sure,
like a great coach should do.
For sure.
Yeah. So kudos to him in that, but he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, of course.
So think about. They won the best male team award. They won the Kylian Mbappe tied Harry Kane for the most goals in a season. Carlo Ancelotti won the best manager award. So I think those were the 3 that they won. put yourself in a position. Let's say you were Jude Bellingham, and Jude Bellingham, I think he's 21 now. So I mean, he might be a little too old for the award. I can't remember. But imagine if Jude Bellingham won the one that Lamine Yamal won. How would that have made him feel if they said you shouldn't go to this because Vinny Jr.'s got robbed or whatever, so we're all not going?
I wonder who made the decision like that, because it is an interesting conversation. Someone floated the idea out there we're not going.
Probably all together as a team.
Yeah, but someone brought it up first.
It has to be Florentino Perez.
But then, like, I'd be thinking about it. Carlo Ancelotti probably doesn't care because he's won enough awards in his life. I don't want to say he's not doing it for the awards, because obviously he probably wants to win them, but like he cares more about protecting his players, and I think helping all of the young players he's responsible for have great careers. But you do look at people like Kylian Mbappe. That's a big award. You're the highest goal scorer in the world. Like that, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like you should be there for that. Some of those other guys were, although they weren't going to win the Ballon d'Or, were in the top 10. I think Jude was in the top 10. I didn't see the final voting.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
But I would assume Jude was in the top 10. Vinny's in the top 10. Mbappe's in the top 10. Like you're one of the top 10 players in the entire planet. Again, you never know how many more times this will happen. I don't know.
But I also think that the Mbappe one is a bit different to me, because I know he's in Madrid now, but this is all PSG worthy now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like all PSG awards, pretty much. It's just a different jersey. But if Jude would have won the young player or whatever an award, then who knows what would have happened. It would have been very interesting to see.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a disaster. Part of it was Real Madrid's fault. Part of it was the fact that they looked like they didn't rehearse this. They brought the wrong presenters. I was even disappointed at Drogba. I felt bad because Drogba's such a legend of the game. And I was like, dude, you also didn't look great. The questions that him and the lady were asking, the other presenter, the questions that they were asking weren't even soccer related questions. Like
they're trying to make it like the Oscars, like like a spectacle and funny, and
so they bring not necessarily funny, but it was just, I don't know, they almost needed like background music. Like, you know, when everything's super quiet and everything's kind of awkward, they almost needed something.
Yeah.
The women's best player of the year, she's won twice. This is her second time in a row, right? I should know her name. It's hard to pronounce. She plays for Barcelona. Really good player. She goes on there and specifically says, this award is hard for me to accept because it's a team sport. My teammates are all here. 2 of her teammates were nominated for it. They could have won it, and she ended up winning. It's all about my teammates. It's all about the team, blah, 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 blah. And then the presenter tells her, does winning this award give you more confidence on the field? Because now that's your second year. And the girl looks kind of offended. She's like, no, my teammates give me confidence. I don't care about it. She said it right before she said that. She's like, I don't really care about individual awards. That's how she said it. I don't really care about individual awards. I care about my team, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, so does winning this award give you more confidence on the field? I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
They're just reading from the teleprompter. They're not thinking or asking real questions.
It was bad.
They need to just scrap it. Because I honestly, I can't tell you the last time, one, I paid attention to it, or two, even know what kind of goes into it. It was fun when it was Ronaldo and Messi. Then you watch that and you're like, oh, the 2 best, I'm excited to watch the Ballon d'Or, who's going to win it, blah, 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 all that. As soon as those 2 went away, I think the whole entire thing kind of just, those 2 went away. Messi won it last year, but
yeah, the battle between the two,
the
real battle.
I think it was finding out who's the best player-ish on a team that wins a lot of stuff and kind of giving it to them.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Even though I do think Rodri deserves it in terms of but
I just think they need to change what it's based on, because it's just because you win doesn't make you the best. Yeah. Sometimes you're gonna have players that are on a team that might be really good, but there's other better players individually. So it just depends on, I don't know.
Sure.
You
could even play for one of the best clubs in the world, be the best player by far, but just because you don't play on Real Madrid, Manchester City, or a few of the clubs that are going to win everything, you have no chance. Yeah. No chance. So, and I don't know if I like the voting process. Journalists, I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
Yeah, coaches, players.
It's a mix because I think it also involves like captains of national teams. I believe it's like captains of national teams, journalists from each organization. I just don't like journalists.
Yeah.
But the alternative is players. And what are players going to do? What is every Real Madrid player going to do, regardless of how bad their season is? They're going to vote for it. So it's hard to find the right balance.
And you can't say fans because then it just goes back to the biggest clubs again. Right.
And so that's why I think journalists make sense, because journalists they have to report on multiple teams. They have to be a little bit unbiased because they actually report and they actually do research on every single team. Because they have to write multiple
biased, though, I feel like, there's Arsenal biased. Reporters, there's Real Madrid reporters, like you're going to, but whatever. We can move on from this topic.
Yeah, let's move on
we'll be
because
here all night.
I'm gonna have a fit.
Javi's
gonna go slam some donuts after this.
I'm so mad. I'm gonna stress eat for sure. Let's get into the next section then. The next section is football roundup.
Oh, perfect lead up. Real Madrid not showing up.
Ooh,
go on, Georgie.
Great transition there, Georgie.
Big Ange tactics.
Big Ange tactics, yeah, for Barca. I watched a lot of that game, and like Big Ange, Barca high line. We saw against Bayern Munich midweek, but what a result! Like to go at the Bernabeu, like everybody looks at Real Madrid as one of those like invincible teams right now, where like nobody can touch them, and regardless of how bad they play, they find a way. I mean, we talked about it in the last podcast. They're Dortmund down to 0, whatever. They come back, and despite playing very, very bad, they make a comeback in the second half. This time around, you face a team that's actually like pretty good. A lot of young players, a manager that has the whole team believing within the system. Young players that are willing to work for each other, and no, I don't want to say the word I was going to say. No like egos per se. All of them work for each other. All of them want to play together. All of them like each other. That's what it seems. And like it seems like they're really, really, the team chemistry is really high. And you look at that specific game and you watch Real Madrid, and it felt so, it's just so bad in every single level, in terms of finishing, in terms of timing, in terms of like tactically, performance-wise. Very, like one of the worst performances I've seen from Real Madrid. So I don't know. They don't show up to.
So they're human.
They are human, exactly. They're human.
Yeah. It's like the Rocky. Did you ever watch Rocky 4?
Yep.
Where he finally cuts Drago for the first time, and the guy's like, "You see, he does bleed. He is human." But I'll tell you what the difference is, though. You know what the difference is? Champions League Real Madrid and La Liga Real Madrid are different. La Liga Real Madrid, still good. Don't get me wrong. Still one of the best teams. But Champions League Real Madrid is untouchable. There's something about that team that just, you think you have them, you think you can go up 2-0 at halftime, and you're good. Yeah, and you can go even more defensive, park the bus. But Real Madrid in the Champions League, there's something different about them.
Yeah, but Dortmund are not good this year either.
Sure, but at that level, if you go up 2-0, any team who's in the Champions League deserves to be there because they're at a certain level, right? They're one of the best teams in their country. They're one of the best teams in the world. Any team at that level should go up 2-0 and not lose the game.
I mean, they should, but
right.
it's also one of those leads, especially away from home, at a pretty hostile environment. You give up one goal quickly can become 2. To me, I think I love the Big Ange tactics in the game. That's why I was like, when I was watching the highlight of it, I was literally thinking through. I'm like, this is Javi's worst nightmare, but they're pulling it off perfectly. And you mentioned that like they did get a bit lucky because the few times that Real Madrid were onside, they blew the chances.
Terrible decisions.
However, they also scored some of the ones that they were offside. Where to me, I think it almost plays in the head of a striker where like you don't know which one's on, you don't know which one's off, so like you kind of mentally check out a little bit. Cause like I think I might have been offside. I'm clear through. You know, because like some of those I feel like Mbappe calmly passes, like dribbles past the keeper and finishes. Yep. So they got a little bit lucky there. But we've also, every time we watch Real Madrid, we always talk about how many chances they give up. Barcelona just did an amazing job at punishing them almost every single time they gave them a chance.
And it could have been more if Lewandowski finishes 2 tap-ins, I think.
Yeah, he missed that one sitter. Yeah, you're right, 2 of them.
Yeah, in the second half.
Where you play Real Madrid, and I think people now are going to see it. Like, if we play Real Madrid, they're going to give us chances. The game's going to come down to which team takes their chances better. And Real Madrid had some good ones, like the double crossbar hit between Vinny and Jude. I think that was in the first half.
Yep.
Game could have changed there. Obviously, all the offsides. So if some of those go a different way, some of the breakaways going in. But like the Lewandowski header was absolutely amazing. Was it Rafinha's goal? I don't remember.
The last one,
Yeah.
Rafinha's goal.
Another good. Like they had a bunch
Yamal,
of
right foot.
yeah. Like the Lamal right foot. But again, it was
Keeper should have done better, to be honest.
keeper should have done better. Weird defending too from Mendy to give him space like
Yep.
that. But I also understand it because he's you know where he's going because he almost always goes there. But the big Ainge tactics, man,
The audacity.
they paid
the
off.
audacity of Hansi Flick to do that against Real Madrid, who has the fastest team in the world.
Yeah, they executed it though perfectly. Like every one of those, they were almost all barely offside, and that line was
Sure, but
razor thin.
let me ask you this though: how? Of course, they executed it perfectly, but even if they execute it perfectly, as long as you're before half field, you're going to be onside, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is Real Madrid, no matter how good the high line is from Barcelona, Real Madrid need to be a little bit better.
Oh,
You
yeah.
realize it a couple times. You're like, how many times was Kylian Mbappe offsides?
I think 8.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, he lost. His head was gone.
I'm just saying, but that's what I'm saying. So
So they
like,
were offside. But are you saying that it's on Real Madrid because they kept going offside?
yeah, I'm saying Real Madrid should have been smarter to figure it out at some point to say like, look, guys, they're playing an extremely high line. Stay behind half. As soon as you get the ball, you know what's going to happen. They're going to play a high line. Play it over the top.
Well, they
Especially in
weren't-
the moments where they don't think you're going to play the ball, just play it.
Yeah.
Mbappe just stay on the halfway line, and then.
But
go.
they didn't do it. They didn't do it like right at half most of the time. They did it like 10 yards into their own half to give themselves a little bit more space. And also, it's harder to time because if your line is always on half field, you just time and you know where the line is. But like it to me, at least when I was watching it, it was weird because they would drop, but they anticipated when they were going to kick the ball, and they would almost like stop dropping at the same time and hold.
Right.
If that makes any sense. But
Sure.
I think you should, like, if you're Mbappe, you are very, very quick. You can just give yourself a yard or two. But also too, I think it's ingrained in those strikers so much where it's like they're anticipating people to run with them to a degree, and it almost always has worked. That I don't know if anyone's ever played a high line against those players and it work out so well for them, if that makes sense.
I do
And
think
they still
though,
got chances.
Yeah, I think if that game is played 5 or if you play that game 10 times, I think Real Madrid figure it out 8 out of 10 times. Like
Maybe, yeah.
I've never been a fan of the high lines. Like it's just a crazy thing to me.
George
Like,
just could never recover in time.
I could, well, that's what I was gonna say about like that's how bad Real Madrid were in terms of like for me in the decision making. Because I was gonna say, using myself as an example, it's not like I'm up there where I need the extra 2 steps to make sure I can beat a defender. No, you're freaking Mbappe. You're Vinny. You can literally outrun any of those guys
If you need to.
If you 5 yards back.
Yeah.
So the fact that you are like,
That you couldn't make the adjustment.
but some of them weren't even close. That's the problem. Mbappe was 4 to 5 yards offside half the time, and his head was gone when he actually did get a chance to shoot or like an opportunity. He was so in his own mind that he was just like, what is going on?
Like on that chip from like 40 yards away, 30 yards away.
I have no idea what he like.
He was 2v1
It
with
makes
Vinny,
no.
and he's chipping from. I'm like, what are you doing?
Like some of the in that first half is where like Real Madrid could have had like 2-3 goals.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough, Barca could have as well. But the second half, Barcelona like I think to your point, I think Real Madrid were so shocked of how terrible they were and how good Barca were, a combination of both, and it was just in their heads of like, I can't even stay onside. Like I don't even know like.
And then you are onside, and you're like, it doesn't matter because I'm gonna be called offside anyway. So you kind of like half finish the play.
Yeah, and then
You know?
even when you're on,
Then you're on.
you make a terrible decision, and it's like, so it's like, I think for me it was like 50-50 where, like, if Real, like, I don't know. And another thing is, I think Real Madrid, the balance is just off this season. And when I watch Real Madrid now with Mbappe, it is, and obviously you don't have Toni Kroos in there to have the experience and stuff. It just looked off.
It's a balance. Like the same thing that happened with the Galacticos when they came. It's like, sure, you have superstars, but you sacrifice a huge part of the game that's not the flashy part of the game, which is the defensive side, the defensive work. So the moment you start adding players like that, when you add too many of them, you lose a huge chunk of that. And as good as you might be individually, you're still going to struggle. Because now every time the ball's in your half, you got 4 players on the wrong side of it, right? The thing about the high line Barca played, and similar to Tottenham, is that it's a 50-50 risk, right? Like executed perfectly still against a team like Real Madrid, you're flipping a coin basically. Because if Real Madrid is onside for one of the first ones and they score the first goal and they score another goal or whatever, like they make, if they're onside for maybe 2 more of those times, the game could be completely different because you have to make the adjustment, because otherwise they're going to be comfortable with a 1-0 lead. If you still play the high line, they're going to get the second one. I'm saying it's just a huge risk to you're essentially flipping a coin. It worked out for Barcelona. If Barcelona goes back and plays that same exact style against Real Madrid next game, like you said, it could be very different. It could be 4-0 Real Madrid.
It's crazy though, because it worked against Bayern too. And we're like the first half. I think they changed
Bayern's
a little bit in the second half.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, Bayern isn't the Bayern that we know.
Look at the players that they have. They have Alphonso Davies.
What?
And Harry
Kane.
Kane.
For a while. What do you mean? He's been there for a while.
That's what I'm saying. That's the best player. Like he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's a good player. But that's still like him and Harry Kane.
And to be fair, if you are going to play a high line against someone, it probably is Harry Kane. Me and him are the same pace.
Yeah. Everything else is different, but the pace is probably the same.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get. So I did promise my boy Eddie that we would talk about Chelsea in this podcast, because I told him, I was like, Chelsea's been getting some. They've been getting some respect. They deserve a little bit of respect. We are obviously not Chelsea fans, so we don't give them as much airtime here on this podcast. But I think it's time that they get their flowers, because they've been playing really well. Enzo Maresca, fantastic tactically, getting the players firing on all cylinders. The right players. Cole Palmer, Madueke, even Nicholas Jackson looks good, and that bothers me. Even Nicholas Jackson.
No, you guys are disrespecting my boy Jackson, man.
He looks good.
Yeah, but he was kind of a joke.
Good.
I know, but he's like,
him?
He's like, oh, it makes me mad.
It does, because he's kind of a joke.
He was struggling last season.
But even last season, I mean, I don't know. I like those type of strikers, I guess. I don't know. I think he did so much right.
He does get into good. He does get into good positions.
He does so much off the ball that like I really like. I respect strikers like that. Like to me, the goal, obviously, striker, you're looking at the goals. But for me, when I look in, like even last season when he was struggling, when he wasn't scoring as much, I thought he was
doing good things for the team,
doing so good. And I know a lot of Chelsea fans are like, "No, get rid of him, get rid of him." I was like, dude, he's really good. Like,
you also don't need him to score when you have Cole Palmer.
Exactly, and that's what people don't understand. Like, if you have a player on your team that's willing to give you 20+ goals a season, nobody, like the other players, don't have to be 20 goals plus, as long as they're doing everything else to sacrifice in order to make up for the dirty work or like the movement, whatever. And it's something you're gonna score your goals. And talk about Big Ange. The reason why he had even better stats last season was he scored that hat trick against Spurs when they went to 9 men. So that kind of kicked off his like the momentum. But I think Chelsea are doing amazing.
Fair play. Nicholas Jackson's been playing well. Yeah. Pedro Neto's a fantastic signing.
Amazing.
Gives them exactly what they need. The fact that you can also have Joao Felix coming off the bench whenever, in case those guys aren't playing well. Madueke is playing really well. And I want to talk a little bit about Cole Palmer, because I'm a huge Chelsea fan now. I'm a huge Chelsea fan. Only because Cole Palmer is getting me all these points, man. Cole Palmer is unbelievable on my fantasy league. He is at a point where that ball that he played, that assist, it's an assist. I mean, you could give him credit for the goal if you wanted. The through ball that he
Nicholas
played.
Jackson goal, yeah.
Unbelievable. That was you could put that goal in the top 5 Real Madrid counterattack highlight videos that you could find on YouTube. That's how good it was. Because Real Madrid has some of the known to be the best counterattacking team in history, especially when in the Ronaldo days. Ronaldo, Ozil, Benzema. Yeah. Fantastic. That goal was top class, top level. And I think Cole Palmer There's only one other player that can make that pass in his prime, at least in recent time. I'm just talking about recent time. Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah. Kevin De Bruyne is the only player that you could associate with making a pass like that in recent times. And then the next closest one I would say would be like a Xavi or an Iniesta in their prime in Barcelona. But Cole Palmer making that pass.
Perfect.
Chef's kiss. Beautiful.
Is he still the best player in the Premier League? Because we talked about it, 3 weeks ago now?
It's
when he scored the 4 goals.
Yeah.
It's like the last podcast we talked about it.
No, it wasn't that.
A few ago.
Because he kind of he was kind of missing.
The conversation has changed, George.
Yeah.
How close is he to being the best player in the world? Now I'm talking about all of last season. I'm talking about in the last 2 months.
So, like from the beginning of this season?
Yeah. Is there anybody playing better than Cole Palmer in the world right now?
Like, I'm trying to think of who's actually playing that well. Mbappe's not. Haaland
no.
It was a ghost for 3 weeks, I think. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely up there. I don't. It's hard for me to say the best in the world because you look at different things. But
not necessarily the best in the world, but is he playing the best football in the world right now?
Yeah, like he's been amazing, like all season. So far, he's like even the stats that he's getting. Like I think, like we talked about before the season started, he is the engine for Chelsea, and I think he would be a huge miss if he goes out, suspended, injury, whatever it may be. I think Chelsea are a completely different team because there's no other player on that. As many, even though they have so many good attacking players, you have Nkunku, you have Jackson, you have Felix, Pedro Neto, who's I think one of the best signings of the season. If he stays injury free, nobody else makes that pass. Mm-hmm. Nobody else brings them to that level that he can. And I think Chelsea go as far as Cole Palmer goes.
I agree with that. I'm 100% on the same page that they're playing well. Don't get me wrong. It's not like they're playing bad, but without Cole Palmer, they are sitting in 8th or 9th place in the Premier League at this point, in my opinion, because of his individual moments.
Do you guys think this win against Newcastle was that big of a win? I only ask it because if you look at where like Newcastle is on the table, are they the Newcastle team that they were 2 years ago?
I don't think it's that big of a win.
Yeah.
Like, any game is a big win.
Because it's you get your 3 points, you're moving on.
But Newcastle, I think they're in a weird transition to where I don't know if they're actually going to be one of the top teams, how they were 2 years ago when they qualified for the Champions League or like Europe and all that stuff. I just don't know if they're at that level. I think they've dropped off a little bit. I think, but even then, like we were just watching the highlights, Isak, like dribbles past the keeper, tries to dribble past, he has a tap in for, what was it, Joelinton, far post?
Yeah, one of the guys running in.
That game, and now we're talking about a completely different game. And obviously you can go back and follow, Chelsea could have scored, blah, blah, blah. But that's a clear-cut chance, a better decision. And the reason why I'm talking about that is because Isak, I think he's been pretty bad this whole entire season so far. I think he's missed very, very easy chances. And that won't even go as a missed chance. That won't even be because he didn't even attempt. He was just there. But I think Chelsea are playing really well. Overall as a team, I think Maresca's obviously transformed them, and I think he's done it in a very, very short time. This is going to sound weird because Cole Palmer did it last season. But I don't know how long Cole Palmer can do this for. Because I think he's doing so much that I don't know if he can keep this up for a whole entire season in terms of last season he was really good, but a lot of the goals were PKs. So like if you take away, and so far he started off really well, but if Cole Palmer has to keep doing this on week to week basis every single time, I think against bigger teams and tougher teams, they're going to struggle because teams are going to adjust against Cole Palmer, and it's going to be a matter of time. Like,
well, they already have because they haven't even gotten any results against. They've played City, they played Liverpool, and they lost both. They haven't played Arsenal yet,
and we just put Curtis Jones on him the whole time.
Yeah, that's
like
he was quiet against Liverpool.
Yeah, he did nothing, like literally nothing last week.
That's the downside to their team is that like I feel like he can get a lot of points and goals against mid to low table teams. Can he perform being the only person I don't want to say the only person because they have other talent, but like
he's just next
he's
level.
like he's next level, and he's also like the catalyst for most of it. Like the Jackson goal, yes, he has to, like he plays an amazing ball. Neto's speed gets there. Neto then gets a good ball across, and obviously Nicholas Jackson is there. That you have to have those other pieces too, but he's the one that always, it seems like, is pulling the initial strings to make it go or doing something brilliant himself to make it happen. So I'll be interested to see as they play other teams. The thing that they do have going for him, I don't think, like in terms of him and keeping him rolling in the Premier League, they kept him off of their
Europa.
Yeah. Well, are they in the Europa or Conference League? Or
Conference
League or whatever, whichever one that they're in, they kept him off that. So he'll be fresh for the Premier League the whole season. However, they do need to get some additional players to create and draw some of the attention away from him in bigger games, because it's kind of like what City is running into now. I feel like teams realize without De Bruyne out there, we just really have to make sure Haaland doesn't score, and City will probably end the game with 1 goal or maybe 2, but they'll probably give us a chance or 2.
And as long as it's close, you never know.
Yeah.
But how much does that say about how good of a player that he is, that if he goes missing for one of those 2 games, Chelsea don't look anywhere near as good? Like if you think about some of the top, like Manchester City or Arsenal, if our best player at Arsenal, let's say when Odegaard's playing, if he has not so good of a game, somebody else picks it up for him, and we win the game, and he still looks good because we won the game. Manchester City, if Erling Haaland doesn't score a goal, somebody else is going to score a goal, and he still looks pretty good because he's going to score goals at some point. The fact that he has to, every single game, he has to be the best player for Chelsea, and if he's not, Chelsea are going to lose, shows how much of an impact he makes at Chelsea and how good of a player he is in comparison to the rest of the Chelsea players.
I guess my thing to that is, if he was really that good, he wouldn't go missing.
Sure. But
it's tough though, because I think they're in the transition period of where, I mean, Maresca just got there. So like, I think once they're settled in more, I think everybody else will pick it up as well, which I mean, not, I don't want to make it seem like they're not doing well, because they are, in terms of like all the individual players, because they are stepping up, like Neto assists, Jackson scoring goals, Madueke scoring hat tricks at Wolves and all that. It looks great, but when it's the bigger game, when it's a bit closer, and they're, like you said, against tougher sides, I think that's where Chelsea might struggle a little bit. I think it's always gonna be close just because they're a tough team to play against. But those are the moments where I think you don't. Well, I think no matter who you are, you miss a player like a Cole Palmer.
Yeah,
it's always gonna show a little bit at least.
sure. And I think that's why Arsenal and Liverpool and Manchester City are higher than Chelsea, because they have a better group.
Yeah.
They have a better group.
Hey, you want to talk about, thank goodness Manchester City let him walk, because when De Bruyne is not playing, he would slide in there perfectly and be able to pull the strings for them. And I don't know if Pep realized how good Cole Palmer actually was. I think he knew he was really good, but I don't think he realized, like, oh, he can be our next De Bruyne as De Bruyne is phasing out of his.
No chance he knew.
Like, that's what is interesting to me.
The reason why, well, 2 reasons. 1, if you know he's that good, you don't sell him to a rival. And 2, not only you sell him to a rival, you sell him for 40 million.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
It is. That's what's interesting. How he didn't know he was that good.
Yeah.
You see him at training every day?
Interesting. So that's it. I was going to talk about Palace and Spurs. First win for Palace this whole season.
Big time one.
Van de Ven not having a good game actually kind of caused one of the goals because of a giveaway. But Tottenham is not good. Tottenham does not deserve any airtime more than the 20 seconds that I just spent mentioning them.
Don't forget, Big Ange. They're going to get a trophy this season.
He's gonna have to go for it. What, tomorrow? They play City?
EFL Cup.
Yeah.
Big Ange, next one to be sacked.
No,
he's not the next one to be sacked, but he's going to continue the Tottenham tradition of being average and being kind of good. Like, hey, Tottenham's knocking at the door of Champions League, and we're going to fall Europa League.
You love Big Ange.
I hate Big Ange.
Damn.
Hate him. No, I don't hate him. I don't hate him. It bothers me. It bothers me the fact that people can support someone because of their beliefs, even though their beliefs are wrong. Isn't that the truth?
That
Well,
game,
I don't think
isn't that the
that's
truth?
not how beliefs work. Like, I don't think they can be right or wrong. Like,
Oh, they can be wrong. They can be wrong.
that game really rubbed you wrong.
Listen,
against
there's been
Chelsea
some
last
people
year.
in the
No, he's been-
history.
he
There's
still
been some
can't get over
bad
it.
people in the history of the world that had some wrong beliefs that people
That's fair.
followed.
That's fair.
But no, that's good. That's
was
not
talking
that's
about
not related to
football more.
But no, look,
But yeah.
look. If you before the game, when we talk about this business, it's all about results.
You can't believe in the high line. I get it.
Fuck your style of play completely. Forget your style of play. If you win every single game, it doesn't matter what style of play, because who's going to sack you? Not the team that you're coaching for, right? Come on, George. Come on.
I mean, look at it.
Come on.
Well, no,
what are you talking about? Erik Ten Hag, he just won all these trophies and he got sacked. He's winning. Doesn't matter about the style of play. He's winning.
To be honest, the first person that comes to mind is Mourinho. Mourinho got second in the Premier League with Man United and won the Europa League and got sacked. Think about it now. You sack him because the football didn't really apply with Manchester United ways, whatever.
Yeah, but all the off the field stuff, the
And
character
you
as well.
kept Ten Hag for this long.
And then you kept Ten Hag for 3 years. Like
They would have kept Mourinho if he wasn't that didn't have that much of a personality.
But that's what he was that before you hired him. You knew what you were getting.
Sure,
I
I agree.
Speaking of Mourinho, though, did you see he got sent off
Yeah.
against Manchester United?
No, I didn't see
You
that.
didn't see it?
No, I didn't see that.
He got first of all, I watched it. I watched the whole game. I don't think he deserved a red card. Maybe he said something, but he just like stood like this because there was a potential penalty, which it wasn't. It was a dive from his own player, but he was on the sideline, just like shuffling like this. He's like, "How is that? Like, how is that not a pen?" And then he got sent off. And then after the game, that's what
Brilliant.
the key is.
I did see that. Sorry, I
Dude,
did see that.
What a character, man! Did you hear what he said after the
Can't
game?
remember what
Tell
he
us.
He's like,
Hilarious.
the interview person was like, so why'd you get a red card? You just left the referee's room. Like, what was the reason that he gave you? He's like, actually, you know what? Pull it up.
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up.
Because he has to be read word by word. Like,
yeah. So let me. Don't worry, we'll
What a
cut this all out of the
character, man.
podcast. It's all good. It's brilliant, by the way.
I found it.
All right, so go ahead.
He told me something incredible. He told me that at the same time, he could see the action in the box, and then he can also see my behavior on the touchline. I congratulate him because he's absolutely incredible. His peripheral vision during the game, 100 miles per hour, he had one eye on the penalty situation, and he had one eye on the bench and my behavior. That's the explanation he gave me. That's why he's one of the best referees in the world.
That's so good. That's so Mourinho.
With this face.
The way that he said it, though, the way that he said it was even better because he like pauses to try and show you the detail of how the referee explained how he had one eye on him and one eye on the play.
Dude, what a character, man. I miss this guy.
And if you didn't know Mourinho, you actually might think that he was praising the referee for that.
What a guy.
He's great.
But
Well, he's so good because you can dig at the referee and avoid fines because he did. I didn't say anything bad about him. I said he was amazing. I thought he's
What a guy.
But
absolute troll. So good.
all of that goes back to Big Ainge, my boy Big Ainge. I'm not gonna go on to it because it's a whole. It works me up for no reason. It works me up for no reason. I'm not gonna lie.
Why are you so
I fucking hate it.
Let's keep it moving.
I fucking hate it
Why are you so triggered about Big Ainge?
because it's like
Wait,
Imagine-
what's more?
what's-
Wait.
you
What are you
remember-
more mad about, Ballon d'Or or Big Ainge?
Ballon d'Or is pretty high up there, to be honest. Big Ainge. It's like the Matrix, right? Morpheus' name, the blue
what?
pill, red pill, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine Morpheus gives you a choice. He says, "Here you go. Blue pill, you win the game 2-1. Red pill, you lose the game, but you stick to your football philosophy." Which one do you think Big Ainge takes?
The philosophy one.
Yeah, and that's what pisses me off. Fuck it. That's it. I'm
think
moving
he
on.
wants to win. Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. back him up.
Don't put, that's it. We'll move on.
I will say Nottingham Forest is above them in the table.
Yeah, it's a surprise.
Nottingham
seven.
Forest have been pretty good though.
They have been pretty
They've
good.
been really good.
Without
Chris
Morgan
Wood,
Gibbs White for like most of this, we were over here trashing Chris Wood when we were watching him
Yeah.
play in Cincinnati, and he's
killing it. He's what, 8 goals?
7 goals.
yeah.
Listen to this, 7 goals. And this could have been a lie, but this popped up on my thread or on my X or whatever.
No, so it's a lie.
Chris Wood has 7 goals.
Mhm.
Manchester United 7 goals.
Chris Wood is the 3rd highest scorer in the league.
He's got the same amount of goals as Manchester United this season.
Oh, wow.
Same amount of
Somebody
goals as
fact check
Cole
me.
Palmer.
Somebody fact check me.
Crazy part, listen to this. You have Holland on top with 11, and Buemo in second with 8.
Love
Chris
that.
Wood tied for 3rd with Cole Palmer. And then Danny Welbeck. And then Nicholas Jackson.
You know the crazy thing about Chris
Wow.
Wood is like the goals he scores. Like the one he took a right-footed shot outside the box, he's left-footed. Right-footed shot, like easy save for the keeper. And the keeper, it goes through his hands. Then the second goal in the second half against Leicester Faze, or Faz, whatever
Yeah.
his name is, he tries to head it back to the keeper, but instead of heading it back, he heads it up in the air, and then the keeper comes out, no man's land, it kind of stands there, and Chris Wood just like heads it over him. Like such weird,
Random,
like,
just
random goals, but goals are goals, man.
You also got to respect those strikers that are going that we talk about. They're actually starting to come back. I've noticed they're starting to come back little by little.
The target,
The number 9s,
strong,
the
true target.
traditional number 9s.
especially for like those lower, I don't say lower tier teams in disrespect Nottingham Forest, but I think you guys know what I mean, because it's like they help you relieve pressure so well.
yeah,
You know, like we can play it into him, he can hold it up,
and it's perfect.
and we can counter.
Yeah, you have a target number 9 who can hold up the ball, and who is good with his feet and can pass the ball, and you have a bunch of runners all around him.
Perfect setup.
It's a
I will go as far to say as Chris Wood would make Real Madrid a better team than Kylian Mbappe makes Real Madrid a better team. Think about it.
I hope you cut that into a short.
No,
'cause
I'm
that will get a
serious. I'm
trillion
serious.
views.
I'm serious.
no,
it's like Benzema.
I
It's like Benzema,
Yeah, but
and
like,
obviously
I understand
Benzema's
what you're
different class.
saying, but like
I get
people are gonna attack you for that.
Sure, they can.
You're
Is he-
getting
I'm not saying he's a better
Chris
player.
Wood over Benzema.
Don't get it
is what
wrong.
Javi thinks.
Don't get it wrong. I'm not saying Chris Wood is a better player than Kylian Mbappe. I'm saying,
Mbappe.
just like you were saying about Darwin Nunez.
Yeah.
You were saying that Darwin Nunez was better for Liverpool than Erling Haaland was going to be for Manchester City.
I said bigger impact. Obviously, that didn't work out.
Fucking. All right, that's fine print. Sure, George.
Yeah.
You were still fucking wrong, all right?
Yeah,
You're still-
I was wrong, but
but
like that's completely different. That's 2 players coming at the same time, and I thought Liverpool would be like winning trophies, like, and he would
just
be a
think-
big part of it. But I understand what you're saying in terms of like he would be more of a Bobby Firmino, in terms of like he would drop in, hold the ball, and be able to pass the ball, compared to Mbappe, who's another one of those same type of players that just runs
Thank you.
behind and all that. I understand the point, but Chris Wood has no fucking, he's no business
chance.
in Real Madrid. Or, actually, Huselu went to Real Madrid, so
Chris Wood is next.
Huselu from last
Yeah.
season, obviously, he's one, like, he's a similar to Chris Wood,
Yeah.
a bigger, taller guy, kind of holds up the ball and lets everybody run. And Real Madrid were a lot better last season. So,
and he did have some big moments. He came in and
yeah.
big moments. One of the comebacks was him coming onto the
Yeah.
pitch. I can't remember which one. All right, let's move on. VAR room, really quickly. Let's touch on
Wait,
this.
we didn't talk about.
Arsenal Liverpool.
Oh, yeah.
What are you smiling about? You fucking should have beaten us.
I'm not
You're
smart.
tied 2-2. You're smiling like you're getting ready for the
Should have
subject.
beaten us.
Yeah. Like before the game, not during the game. Before the game, all of the talk was Liverpool should beat Arsenal. Arsenal are
No,
struggling.
no,
We
no,
got
no.
injuries. We got red cards.
Listen,
we got
your
peop-
injuries are for crap.
No. Let's
Saka
be-
and Timber all week. Arteta, are they going to play? Dark Arts FC, man.
Here we
Dark
go.
Arts
Here we
FC
go.
are all week. You can't
Oh,
tell me.
God.
Even on the last podcast, you guys
He
told me.
doesn't have to tell you guys shit.
There was no dark arts. He got them back in time, just back in time. There was no
You thought
international
they were training?
skipping the international break, so they
Yeah.
were for sure ready.
No.
It was like, hey, can you play or
It's
not?
mind
Coach,
games.
I'll play.
It's my games.
fine.
You out of all people that are hamstring are telling me that Saka trained one time and he couldn't play a 90-minute game.
He didn't play 90 minutes.
Whatever he played. What did he play?
70.
70 minutes.
Yeah, man.
You think you can play on 70 minutes without knowing that your hamstring is good, without testing it and all that? Obviously,
you take the risk.
Obviously,
It's a big game. You
trained.
take the risk.
Obviously, Out of all people with hamstring injury. Anyway, the whole point was.
Let's get to the game here, Georgie.
Yeah. The whole point I'm trying to make is Arteta always, like the whole narrative was.
That's not
everybody's injured.
That,
no, it's that I'm just saying that's the media narrative of.
Yeah,
it's a pep tactic.
The media narrative was wrong about that. Liverpool should have beaten Arsenal when it comes down to the actual.
They wanted to make the pressure to be on Liverpool because the pressure was always going to be on Arsenal because you guys lose that game, according to many people, not to me, because I said here last week saying it's way too early. But a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Arsenal's out of the title race if they lose," which I don't think that would have been the case. Yeah. So because it's way too early. Yeah. But
I do.
You actually?
No, it's way too early.
Go ahead.
Wait.
It would have been
different.
What?
I think that if Arsenal would have lost that game against Liverpool, we would have been out of the title race.
We would have been what?
It would have been the same thing.
We would have been. Yeah, we literally would have been
6 or 7 points away from Manchester City.
We would have been okay instead of 5.
That's a big difference.
5 and 6. It's 1 point.
Sure, it's early, of course. I just think going back to the last seasons, how well Manchester City has done after the Christmas break. Us going into the Christmas break 6 points behind Manchester City, I just felt like it's very unlikely that we have a chance.
But you're not going into the Christmas break 6 points.
Like we still have 2
more
months before the
Yeah.
Christmas break.
Right.
Yeah, like that's what, 10 more games?
Which scares me even more.
See, I don't know.
Scares me even more.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I'm like, I've always said it. First 10 games of the season is way too early for anything. Like there's so many. You still got to. Man City still got to play all the top teams. Yeah. Like everybody still has to play.
We haven't had our Liverpool and Man City have to play each other twice, so there's going to be points dropped there by one of them.
Yeah.
Like so, you have to remember that.
And you have City at the Emirates, right?
We have City at home to play.
They're just so they're like. That's
we
why
also haven't had Odegaard all season long. We've missed Saka obviously for a game. Saliba's been out. I'm hoping Gabriel's not out now.
He's not. The report came out.
It came out. He's good.
He's
Rice
good,
Rice has been out. Marino's been out, and he's starting to play, and he looks pretty good, except for when he turns the ball over in some freaking shady spots, man. God damn.
It's so annoying, isn't it?
It's like, God.
It's like Thomas Partey as well. Like there's some moments where you're like, damn, Thomas Partey's so fucking good. And then he gives up the ball right on the top of our box.
And you always expect it to.
And you always know it's going to happen.
Yeah. It's like no matter how of an amazing game they have, there's going to be one.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just
You
negative.
guys want to talk about players who are top in the world right now, I think? He consistently shows up in big games. Saka's good.
Oh, Saka's
a ball. What he did to Robbo?
Meg
sit him down on his ass.
Three mistakes on Robertson's part. Jeez, that was so bad. Awful.
That honestly, if Gabriel also doesn't go out, we win that game. Because the second goal is all Kivior's fault. Your guys' second goal. That ball played over the top. Kivior comes as your left center back. He thinks he can win it. Jumps, doesn't.
Wait.
When the ball
it's quite similar to the soccer goal.
When the long ball goes over the top to Darwin. While the ball's going, Kivior comes. He thinks he can get there. Jumps, doesn't. Comes to Darwin, who plays a great ball then across. But then it's a 2v1 because I think Timber, or was it Louis Skelly at that point, was tracking to catch Darwin. And it's Ben White by himself, who does a decent job of like cutting off the angle. But that Darwin, he played the pass super awkward. Did everyone else notice that? Like, because he did a great job of like making it seem like when he wasn't going to play it, played it awkwardly. And then Kivior is so out of position. Right there for Salah. That if Kivior just stays, obviously he's now 1v1 versus Darwin, but drastically different. That Gabriel, I don't think, makes that mistake. Or if he goes, he gets there.
I think, Gabriel is the best player so far this season. By far.
Fair.
Like, I don't think there's anybody near, like...
Yeah, even the offensive part of it. I mean, the amount of set pieces
goals he has
and goals.
Yeah.
And
big goals. And big goals. Not just like...
And like against the London Derby, and he scores I guess London Derby and against Manchester City, scored in both.
Huge goals. I just don't like how you guys play when you guys go up a goal. Yeah. And it's been the same exact thing all season. Like...
Not even this season, George. This has happened in the past many times as well. Like I've said this many times. We come off flying. Game completely turns on its head.
Last year when we were fully healthy, we didn't do that. When we were fully healthy and rested, we didn't do that. That I think part of it has to do with that. Because I don't know.
Last year was our best year. I'll give you that. Last year was our best year.
Especially like that January, February timeframe. We put up 5 or 6 goals
Yeah,
Like-
but that's a bit different. Like, because you like then you guys were going, like you guys would score
And we go for it.
and you guys keep going. But now you guys are like,
I think we're trying to like conserve energy and conserve
Yeah.
people and just like get and grind out wins right now. That's what I genuinely think we're trying to do.
like the reason why. So Liverpool perspective, Sobosai played. Curtis Jones played against Chelsea last week. Obviously, he did really well. Then midweek came, Sobosai started, and that's when I tweeted and I said, Curtis Jones is going to start against Arsenal, and there was somebody else that I said is going to start against Arsenal that, and Diaz, and the reason why I said that is because I think Slot anticipated the fact that Arsenal will be pressing and going for it nonstop. Curtis Jones is a lot better on the ball and retaining the ball in like tighter areas than Sobosai, who's more of a pressing type of player. And similar with Diaz and Gakpo, like they're like on the ball just a little bit better to where they can like retain possession. And I think Slot tactically thought that Arsenal are just gonna come out, press,
Fly,
and because the pressure's on them. And Arteta even said last week,
We're coming out flying.
we're coming out flying and all these things. So I think in Slot thought, okay, if they're gonna be high pressing us, we need players that are able to turn and be really good on the ball and keep the ball. But it didn't happen. Even I think the first 10 minutes or so, I think you guys dominated. Then we had like 15 minutes of like passing the ball. You guys stay back, and then you guys like scored, and then you guys started doing better. But second half, you guys like after you scored, it was just a drop off, and it was like it wasn't like a small drop off either. It was like the 60th minute and on. It was like complete. Like that's why I think it's Arteta. There's no way the players are doing this on their own. Like it has to be tactics.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
I think we were talking about this a little bit. I think you were downstairs. I think it's a few things. Number one, at least in that game, I think part of it has to do as the game goes on. You lose Timber, you lose Gabriel. You're putting in Lewis Skelly. You're putting in Kivior. I think part of that had to play with it, where it was like, hey, I don't want to leave Lewis Skelly 1v1 versus Salah for much of the game, if at all. I don't want to open up Kivior, so we're going to back off. But I also think, and we did it last year against City, and I was watching the game at home. No, it was this year in the game against City. That I think it might have actually been both. When you don't play consistently the same way throughout the whole game, I think it puts the other team in a position where they have to really think quicker and they have to understand spacing and know what's going on a little bit faster, because you can't just condition your team the week leading up to, like Liverpool with Klopp. Hey, we know they're going to press the entire game. We just have to break it. We have to break it. We have to break it. And I think back to the game at the Etihad. I want to say it was the year where, might have been last year, where we pressed, and Pep was prepared for it. And all they kept doing, you guys remember that? They would play long balls into Haaland, and he would lay it off, and that's how they scored both of their goals against us. And we played that way the whole game. That I think in those tighter games, you have to have different moments where you're changing your tactics throughout, because if good teams know how to play against you for 90 minutes straight, and you have a specific way of playing for the full 90, it's easy to prepare for, and they'll get enough chances over the game that they'll score goals, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Opposed to like if you're changing it up all the time, where you're going slow, then fast, and then pressing, then not, then pressing, then not, then mid-pressing and kind of pressing and pressing in different areas. There's so many different things going on. You can't find that consistent pattern of like, this is where we go. So you decrease the amount of chances the other team gets. That in those big games, that's really the difference. So that to me is part of it. That I don't hate it. The thing that I don't like is I would very much like us to do that more after we've gotten a second goal, opposed to just one. But
I think you just let teams back into it.
we do.
We talked about it before the season started. When I think about Arsenal, it was one of the main things that Arteta changed after the first 3 years. Like we concede too many goals. Yeah, we can score goals, but we concede too many. So let's make sure that we're one of the hardest teams to beat defensively. And for one reason or not, this season, it's not really been the case.
No.
Like there's always going to be something that happens or whatever. and you guys can see. So now I think it's more of like you drop off, you build confidence with your older team. They get on the ball, they keep moving the ball, like you get into a rhythm, and now it's like, I think like you're right. It like makes your team like think about it a little bit more, but then also it's so much tougher for Arsenal to switch off in a way that like you're not pressing and you're just kind of letting the opponent have the ball. But then you can't switch back on because it's so much harder to like you to turn it back on compared to.
You don't think? See, I feel like we turned it back on because we went up. You guys equalized with Van Dijk. We go up again.
But we didn't play good even after in the first half. Like we played 15 minutes before you guys scored. But after that, it was all you guys.
All us. But then we scored again and with Marinos.
And then the last.
What was your guys' second goal? I can't.
The one you just talked about.
Oh yeah. The Salah goal. But then after that, I thought we did a good job of
trying to go for
increasing it again. And then, what were your guys' thoughts on Arsenal's? I don't want to say disallowed goal because he blows the whistle way too early.
Did you see it? Did you?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because it was a couple days ago, but it was
ball comes out, Kivior heads it in. He jumps over Soboslai.
Oh yeah,
Havertz
yeah.
Kelleher or whatever.
I always also look at it as, is it given outside of the, like for penalties, for example, is it given outside of the penalty box? And I think this one is similar because it's like a goal scoring opportunity, so it's almost like, I don't know. I do think it's a foul. Yeah. He jumps over him. I could also see him not giving the foul because he doesn't knock the player over. He literally just kind of jumps over him. And who was it that he jumped over? Soboslai. And Soboslai just kind of like ducks a little bit. Yeah, but like it doesn't put Soboslai in a dangerous area where he could get hurt. He kind of just like ducks a little bit and then he just like stands back up. It almost looks like he doesn't even complain too. And then the referee just calls the foul. I wonder though, had the referee let it go, let the ball go into the back of the net, and then blown the foul, VAR then would have checked it, and then VAR could have decided whether to overturn it. Yeah. But because he blew it a second before the ball got kicked into the goal, regardless of what would have happened, that goal wouldn't have counted because he blew the whistle before the ball went in. So
for me, when I watch it, like I watched the replay a few times, you can tell as soon as Kivior wins it. Right? Yeah, Kivior wins it.
Well, he waits for a second.
He waits, but the reason why he waits is he thinks Kelleher's going to pick it up because he's just going to play the advantage. But like his hand raises.
Right
like
when Kelleher and Havertz.
Yeah, and then as soon as that happens, he blows it, and then obviously nobody hears the whistle for like 6 seconds, and then hits the post, whatever. But I think he's waiting for Kelleher to pick it up or think he might pick it up, and then he's going to like advantage play on. But the other way I can look at it is just don't fucking call anything. Let it go to VAR and see what happens. Because that's kind of like the new rule, isn't it? Like, let it go. But if in his mind he's like, it's a foul, I'm just playing the advantage, then that's fair. But I mean, we're never
he also can't let it go too long because if it doesn't go in, you've already let the advantage go in way too long.
Yeah,
and you can't call it back.
I just think he thinks Kelleher's gonna pick it up, and he's like, I'm getting the advantage.
Well, and I think I agree with what you're saying in terms of like. I also agree it was a foul. Like it's a fucking really. I don't want to say weak foul, but it's like one of those ones. If it's not called,
nobody's gonna.
No, people will complain. Liverpool
like if there's no goal, if there's no
goal, it's just like, dude, how did you miss that? We're playing on, right? Not a big deal, but like it's interesting to me because when they come together, he doesn't call it, and he's standing there waiting, and then the ball goes into the box, and then there's like a jump ball between Kelleher and Havertz. It's like a really weird time for me looking at it. Why would you blow your whistle then? I understand the advantage piece to a degree, but if Kelleher doesn't win this ball, now there's a goal scoring opportunity, and refs are told like, hey, if there's a goal scoring opportunity, just let it play. Yeah. That's what I thought was weird about it. Like now all of a sudden there's a goal scoring opportunity, and he doesn't win the ball, and he's blowing the whistle right when the ball's literally bouncing towards the goal. That it could have just bounced right in. Yeah, like he doesn't know that ball's not going to go in. That and I just wish he would have swallowed his whistle and just let it play out and then let VAR figure it out. Because then at that point you could talk to the VAR. I thought this was a foul. I didn't call it only because there was a goal scoring opportunity afterwards, and I think they probably would have just no goal foul. But
it's a tough one because I did. Did you guys watch the was it the Rest is Football? No, the what's the one with Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, and all those guys? Podcast.
Overlap.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The Overlap. Howard Webb was on it. You guys should watch that one. That was a good one. They brought Howard Webb in to talk about a bunch of different situations. And I have a lot of respect for the referees, as much as shit as we give them. I have a lot of respect. But he said that they've also made a point to tell the referees that they shouldn't rely on VAR, because we don't want the game to just always rely on VAR. So like they said, make a decision. If it's a really close one, sure, let it go. VAR will help, but don't rely on VAR to the point where like now just let everything go and then VAR will just bail you out. So if you have to make a decision, just make a decision. And most of the time, unless it's clear and obvious, we're just going to go with your decision. And that's why they made the new term referee's decision or referee's call or whatever. I also think referees put the whistle to their mouth a lot of times just because there might be something called. Anytime there's an action that can happen, they want to be ready because they don't want to wait too long and then next you know there's a collision or something. So people always are like, oh, well, you were about to blow the whistle. Yeah, but that doesn't mean he was going to blow the whistle. He was just getting prepared because it looked like there was an action that might be a foul or whatever. So I think, I don't know, it was a weird one because he does like think about it, and I think that's the problem is he just waits a little too long and then he just decides, I got to blow it. I'll blow it anyway. So then he blows it or whatever. But either way, I just think also, who complains more? Is there more complaints if he calls that a foul, or is there more complaints if he lets it go and VAR doesn't overturn it?
I'd say it's pretty even because it's one of those ones to that one in particular. Even as an Arsenal fan, I don't want to sit here and say it wasn't a foul because it's like that. Yeah, because that's a foul at least 50% of the time. Yeah. So it's like it's unfortunate, and it seems like it's always like right there. Yeah. But yeah, I thought it wasn't a clear and obvious error.
Yeah, that's what. Well, if it goes to VAR,
then like what's the call?
Because it's not like
but he could have said I was going to call this, but I didn't, and I think it is a foul, and I probably should have. Then they might be like, then call it's a foul.
Yeah, so
it's I don't know. I do think there was something for the referees where even if VAR is not getting involved, where the ref can at least have some more time to think about it or have another look. Yeah, because like that all is happening so fast.
Yeah, but when he blows the whistle, he doesn't know that the ball's going in.
Yeah, it's 6 seconds before. So like as soon as Havertz kicks it over, he blows the whistle, and then Trent and Havertz or whoever, they don't hear the whistle, so they're just like playing whatever. But then he hits the post, and then
Jesus
comes in and then taps it in. And even Jesus is like, he already knew the whistle was blown, so he's kind of like took a touch and just touched it.
I also think I refereed for just a little bit some games, right? I'm not an expert. One thing I did notice is that if you call a foul, even if it kind of wasn't a foul, you will save yourself much more than if you don't call the foul and it ends up leading to a goal. Because the players don't know that it's going to lead to a goal. So like if you shield the ball and I don't really knock you over, but I call a foul, you'll forget about it. Like the guy who caused the foul. They'll be like, oh, ref, that wasn't a foul, or whatever. They start running back. Yeah. No big deal. But if I call it, but if I don't call it and you go and score, now you're going to be really pissed off that you didn't call the foul. So it's almost one of those things where it's like, just play it safe because you'll get less shit, especially if it doesn't really lead to anything. Players will forget about it quickly, boom. Otherwise, I don't know. You hesitate a little too long and you could really screw some players over.
Messi to the